So to be victimized by that, to fall under the sway of that is unsurprising. It's surprising that it could be resisted. And that was certainly, you could certainly see that with your mother's response.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm sorry, I don't remember. Is your mom still alive?
Yes, she is. She's 88 years young and with us right now.
So, and has that situation rectified itself? Did she adapt to?
We both adapt.
Yeah.
I got through enough time where I felt stable enough in my career that I was like, her loose lips aren't going to sink my ship. And actually, I let go of the reins. And as soon as I said, you go, Mom, here's the mic. Hit that red carpet line. You can talk to anybody. You tell, no filter. Sell whatever stories you want. 99% of the time, it's awesome. And I'm like, you know what? Let her enjoy it. And I was able to enjoy it. And then come to that, realization that, I wasn't going to change her. So because I couldn't change her, it's kind of like the sabbatical I took from the rom-coms. I wasn't going to change her, so I just had to kind of block her out for a certain amount of time that ended up being 8 years until I was stable enough to go for it. And our relationship's great. And, all through that time, she didn't love me less. She's loved me in a new, different way, as well as being her son. What I was needing was I needed her to double down on being a mom to me. Where instead of, she didn't double down, she didn't even cut it in half. She kind of was really wanting to know about the fame part. And I remember telling her things like, well, you keep wanting to come out here and see me, but what if I was an accountant in Chicago? Would you want to come see me as much? And my two brothers were like, you don't want to come see us as much. You want to see little brother. And we were like, yeah, we get it. So we call her out. And it was a strange 8 years. I never questioned her love for me, though. I knew we were going to be fine. I knew we weren't going to head to our deathbeds going on a bad note. I knew we were going to come out the other side. It was just a matter of when, and we did.
It's nonetheless a good example of one of the unintended consequences of fame, right? Is that this very profound alteration in the nature of your personal relationships. So
yes.
So I want to switch topics a bit. I've been watching you in True Detective, which my son recommended, and I'm really enjoying. I believe you said in the book that the script leapt off the page for you.
It did, especially the words of the character Rustin Cole.
Right, who you play.
Marty Hart role that Woody played.
Yes. You were offered that role.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I read the thing, and I remember telling him, I said, guys, I understand why you're coming to me for Marty Hart. I go, but the guy who I cannot wait to turn the page to see what comes out of his mouth is this guy, Rustin Cole. And they were a bit surprised.
Yeah, well, they're both complex characters, so you could see that either of them might have been attractive. But I was quite struck by your characterization of Cole. It reminded me of Heath Ledger, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. You play a dark character very well, if you don't mind me saying so. I mean,
thank you.
It's believable. I've known some dark people, and your portrayal is believable, very believable. And so that makes me wonder what price you pay for that. It's kind of a cliche, you play a dark role and it invades you, but it isn't obvious to me how you can play a dark role without it invading you. And then, or at least you have to allow something dark in yourself to come out and respond to that. And you're very different on the screen playing Rustin Cole than you are in a romantic comedy role, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somewhat surprising to see that transition, which I guess is why other people might be surprised by that too, which is why you actually had a bit of a hiatus when you stopped taking rom-com roles. But I'm curious, what were the consequences for you of playing that character in particular, but dark characters in general?
The dark characters, the baddie, usually has so much more identity than the white knight, than the hero in stories that I read in scripts and things. The dark characters are also, they're always usually outsiders. And the consequence is that if I'm really going to portray one of those well. And that part of myself, I'm putting myself on an island, and and that excites me. I want to feel like the underdog. I want to feel like I don't have to pander to manners or graces. I'm living by different rules, and not even to prove a point, but just say in a Rustin Cole's position, someone who just, I didn't make big acting choices with Rustin Cole. I just did what I could to understand the text so well that I could just say it and not have to solicit it. Or again, Rustin Cole was a guy who preferred his own company to anyone else's, and that solitude. That was a vacation for me. Also, as a person who is a believer, to have to be and inhabit a character who is not a believer at all, and here's why. I've always thought this was odd. At the time that I chose and wanted to go inhabit Rustin Cole was the time that my faith was strongest. And if my faith would have been as strong, I might have been a little more fearful of going so deep into this man's mind, spirit, and ethos. And
so you had some protection.
But I trust.
He's very nihilistic, the character Cole. He reminds me, there's a philosopher in South Africa who's an anti-natalist. Unfortunately, his name escapes me for a moment. I had a debate with him a couple of years ago, but his basic premise is that conscious suffering is so morally untenable as a phenomenon that all life should cease. That if we were making the proper moral choices, we'd stop reproducing. But not only that we'd also do what we could. Well, we can leave it at that we'd stop reproducing, because if you sum up a life, it's bitter, and the bitterness overwhelms the sweet. And so it's cruelty to perpetuate. Yes,
I think that is beautiful and in many ways true. And I think it's also hilarious.
What strikes you as comical about that? You laughed about it, and
because that's where, of course, we're on the way to dying. You talk about it all the time. It's tough. It's cruel. It's hard. We're out here. This thing is okay. I'm in. So that's inevitable. That's
the strange thing, and I felt too. I mean, I can certainly understand the argument.
I hear it, and it adds up. But if that's inevitable, which I think we can all say that's inevitable. It's like we're on the way to dying. It's over. We'll never know if this is the end or not. So or if there's anything after it, and it's hardships and overcome. Okay, since that's inevitable, and we got to do this thing anyway, if we're choosing to stay in life another day, so what's a better way to go about it? Saying it's all for nothing, or realizing right there when you go it's all for nothing? No, that's why it's all for everything.
Yeah, well,
they're in the same
place. It also
seems
to me that if your objection to life is its suffering, adopting an attitude that will make that suffering worse is probably not a reasonable solution. And that's where that grounds out for me.
There's no construction in there. What I mean, there's nothing affirmative or life-giving about that. It's not making the best of the situation if the situation's doomsday. So, I'm not for Hallmark cards and delusional optimism, but I mean, in this way, I would say optimism is survival. It's like, well, okay, if it's all for nothing.
I think optimism is courage. If it's not naive. And one of the things I liked about your book too was that your optimism wasn't naive. And, because you had enough harsh experiences so that any naive optimism would have vanished.
Right.
Even the way you grew up. I mean, it wasn't traumatic, but it had its harshness about it.
Sure. Yeah, it was immediate. It was physical. The same hands that hugged are the same hands that could harm.
Yes, and there was also very little sign of, and maybe no sign of bitterness about that. And no sign, I didn't think of any excuses for it either. Like when you portrayed your father, like you said, he was a man who could hug and hit. And both of them were meant. And they weren't casual. I never got the impression from your book that your father's actions were casual. His physical altercations with you and your brothers. It's a different ethos. That's not an ethos that's well understood today, I would say, or one that's ever appreciated. And I suppose that's because of its harshness. But I didn't detect any sign of bitterness from you emanating towards that.
No, and I have none. While I choose to maybe give consequences to my children in different ways than my father and mother did, there was absolutely no casualness to why and when he did punish us. None. I talk about in there, the values that were instilled even by the antonyms of the words that we got in trouble for saying. To get my first butt whooping for saying I can't. Oh, geez. Okay. The thought of can't brings pain. Oh, don't think can't. Okay. You can have trouble. There's a difference. And to say the second butt whooping for saying I hate you to my brother. I didn't know what the hell I hate you meant. I heard it from older kids at school, and I thought it might be cool to throw it out there. I hate you. Well, that was at my own birthday party. My mom stopped the whole party and said, "What'd you say? You don't ever tell your brother or anyone you hate them." Bent me over right there, embarrassed the heck out of me. Again, the next one for lying. So what do I learn out of those? Don't say I can't, don't hate, don't lie. Boy, when I did those, I felt pain. So what are the antonyms of those? Love instead of hate. Understand you're having trouble, but don't believe you can't. And tell the truth, don't lie. Those are three great values. He was preparing me for, you're going to need this in life.